Us for a free and informative counseling session and personal tour.
I can't believe you waited so long.
I can't believe you waited so long.
Visit stbarnabashealthsystem.com or call 724-443-0700.
Now, it's time to talk on Teleforum on Beaver County Radio. 1230 WBVP, 1460 WMBA, 99.3 FM, and beavercountyradio.com. And now, here is the host of the show, Eddie Crow.
Minutes after 9. It is Teleforum. I am Eddie Crow. You don't got to listen to me much at all today, so congratulations with that. In the third hour, it's the best of Beaver County. Starting at 11 o'clock, at 11:35, Scott Tatey is going to be here. He's bringing David Granati in with him. We're going to talk about shows, but we're going to start the day rapping with the reps. And I want to tell you, if you want to post your questions on our Facebook page, this is being live streamed. If you want to call with your questions for the reps, 724-843-1888 or 774-1888. Across from me, from the 15th District, Josh Kail, and the 14th District, Jim Marshall. Gentlemen, how are you?
Great.
Doing great today, Eddie.
How you doing, Eddie?
I'm doing fine. You guys went back to work, didn't you?
We're always at work, Eddie. You know that.
Such a politician's answer.
It's a public servant answer.
Okay.
Yes, we were in Harrisburg this week, and we'll be there every week this month.
Which one of you want to start by answering the following question? What's up with the budget?
That's Kail's.
Just shoveled it right over.
That's right.
Josh,
So there's
it's my understanding the governor wanted such and such amount in the budget, and then the Democrats in Harrisburg said, "Oh, that's not enough." And am I oversimplifying?
Yeah, that's true. There's a couple of issues on the structural deficit side of things. And
what does that wait?
What that means is that we're spending more money than we are bringing in with revenue.
Okay.
But because of the rainy day fund that we've established, there's funds to plug in that gap now. But if you increase it now, eventually at some point you're going to have to raise taxes because in Pennsylvania you can't incur debt constitutionally. You have to balance your budget every year. It's a real problem. But to me, the bigger problem within this budget is the fact that there's a massive energy tax hike within the budget. And it's going to, by some estimates, quadruple utility prices. And it's a serious...
Are you talking about quadrupling my bill?
Yes.
Okay. Or quadrupling...
Utility tax.
It's going to get passed on to me.
It's going to get passed on to you. It's a generator's getting taxed, and it's something that the governor has said that he is not for, and we're still holding out hope that this provision gets thrown out of the budget. I think it will ultimately, but is an absolute massive concern. It's $700 million coming from utilities that's essentially coming from consumers. And it's an issue that people have been against largely, but it made its way into this budget. And
who would be for it?
Well, Governor Wolf was for it, and he entered us into this program.
That Reggie thing?
Yes, that's exactly what it is.
I remember,
but it's an energy tax, is what it is, and so he entered us into it, and Governor Shapiro, when he was campaigning, had made comments that he doesn't think now is the right time for us to go into it, that it's not the right approach for Pennsylvania. The proceeds from it showed up in his budget still, but this budget process is, in fact, a process, and this is one step of the process, and the final product of this budget is going to be far different than what was passed in the Democrat House. But out of the gates, there's some serious problems in that regard.
Are there serious problems every time, and then it's just everybody knows that's going to get worked on? Do you ask for more than you expect to take?
I do think every time it's never a perfect budget, and it's always a compromised budget. And I've never been a part of Harrisburg when there's been unified government. What I mean by that, where one party has had control of the House, Senate, and governor's mansion. It hasn't happened since Tom Corbett. And even then, it's a compromised process.
It was a compromise with the Senate.
So you're never going to get a perfect product. There's just, the things that really affect people back home. You want to make sure that those are the things that we're focused on, and the kitchen table issues, like energy bills. It's a real issue, and that people are going to feel the pain from. And we need to make sure that we are out ahead of this and doing everything we can to advocate to prevent it from occurring.
Jim, what are the big issues that you're hearing from your 14th district constituency?
Well, I mean, there are a lot of concerns. There's still people talking about the derailment in
Good.
Darlington. Rob Matzey and I had legislation that passed the House this week on Monday. We had
I was proud to support that.
Thank you. Yeah, we had bipartisan support. There were still 61 no votes on it.
Okay.
But we got there. It's important to make sure that we keep the railroads running. We have to have freight and rail transportation, and Rob and I are big supporters of rail, but we need to do it safely. So this legislation laid down some parameters for the railroads, and we're hopeful the Senate will pick it up.
Well, I read the legislation, and everything that was in it seemed, wow, they weren't already doing this? Having two people on a train, having a length of train and keeping track of the chemicals. The assumption was they were already doing that.
Train lengths, to me, seem to keep getting longer and longer, and that's a concern. It's also a concern for communities like New Galilee that potentially a train can park right across the crossings and make it extremely difficult for neighbor fire departments to respond, for EMS to respond to incidents in New Galilee. So those concerns had been addressed in this legislation, and I'm glad to work with Rob to get that done.
How much more legitimate is legislation viewed when it becomes clearly bipartisan?
I think it means a lot.
Okay.
And there are still some members that look down on that, and some people I think are just too partisan. But I think it means a lot when you get another piece of legislation that has even bipartisan prime sponsors. I'm working on one with Nick Piscatano from Allegheny County for interlock on first DUI offense. So for us to work together right out of the gate on that, it's just like the several bills that Rob Matzey and I worked together. I think it's important.
15th District, Josh Kail, and 14th District, Jim Marshall are my guests. We're rapping with the reps. Every time you come home and there's an election and you go back and there are new people, what's the learning curve before you can figure out and actually get up to speed, whatever the speed was before you left?
Well, it's
like freshman orientation.
Yeah, there's definitely a learning curve, and it depends within the House and Senate. It depends on how many new members there are. I will tell you, and this is my first experience with it, there's a major learning curve with the new administration.
Okay.
It's just it is a complicated process for any administration to get their cabinet together, to get their people in place. And this administration has been, I think, pretty efficient with how they've operated as far as getting people in place and having people that are competent to fill jobs. And it's June, and we're still not at the point where the cabinet members are confirmed. It takes time to get that stuff in place. And it's a process. And for us, that's a learning curve as well, because a lot of what we do depends on what the administration's doing as it relates to grant programs, as it relates to money back to the district, as it relates to projects. It depends on where the administration's at on a lot of these things. So we have to be patient as well. And it's all part of the process. I'm not trying to be critical of any particular administration. It's just part of the learning curve. Within the House, different in regards to what the function is of the new people coming in, but the same in regards to there's a learning curve. Every class seems to have its own flavor. We're 203 legislators. It's a lot of people to manage and to really understand what their wants are, what their district needs are. And so it takes time to build those relationships. And it seems like there, as of late, is a lot more turnover than there used to be. and that makes it even more difficult. We almost have built-in term limits now in Harrisburg, where in the last 5 years since I've gotten in, I won my first election in 2018. So 2019 when I got sworn in. Since then, something like 60 to 70% of the body as a whole, over 50% of the Republicans in particular, are new from that point forward, from 2019 on. So it's a lot. It's actually 51 of us are from that point forward.
How much of that indicates that you're getting fresh blood in the legislature versus indicating people aren't staying in very long? There's maybe a shortcoming with the candidates.
I think it's the job has become more contentious. I think it's become more partisan, I believe, and not just in Harrisburg, but in a lot of districts.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it just causes people to, want to get in there, do their service, and then let somebody else give it a shot. So that's just my 2 cents. I don't know, James, if you...
Jim, you like to share your thoughts? I've got a question about it if you don't.
Go ahead, Eddie.
When the new class comes in, is there, you remember Goofus and Gallant in the backup highlights?
Absolutely.
Okay, is there always in every class one Goofus that shows up and everybody looks around going, okay.
One's being
you don't need to
very
name
kind.
names. One's being kind?
kind, yeah.
Okay, I can hear Kail one to answer, but no
Yeah,
one better.
That's right.
All right.
We still have some that, have been there for quite a while, but everybody brings
long-term
something.
Goofus.
Everybody brings something to
Okay.
the table. So I appreciate everybody that's there.
How long does it take to get up to speed? How long was it for you the first time you showed up in Harrisburg and said, okay, where am I supposed to go?
It depends. I mean, geographically speaking, it could be challenging just finding your way around.
Okay.
But when we talk about issues, one of the first committee meeting I went to, I can still remember, we were talking about electronic bill of lading, and 9 out of 10 people in the committee didn't have any idea what it was. And I loaded trucks prior to this, and I said, it's a manifest. You want to do it electronically instead of handwritten. And it's like, yeah, that's it. So you don't have to be an architect or a doctor or a lawyer. You could be a truck driver or forklift operator and still participate in government, and that's why it's awesome.
It is Teleforum. I'm rapping with the reps. How do you get on a committee if you don't know anything about the committee, what the committee does? How does that happen? Are you somebody's nephew?
No, when you come in, typically you get to pick 3 or pick 5, and you might get 1 in the beginning.
God, it's like Jan Brady signing up for all the clubs after school.
Yeah,
Is
well,
it?
They're
Yeah.
speaking of clubs, there's actually caucuses that you could join.
Yeah.
If you don't get on the agriculture committee, you could get on, let's say, the agriculture caucus or the motorsports caucus, or there's several different opportunities. You can not be on game and fish, but get on the sportsman's caucus. So you can still, even if you don't get exactly what you want, you can still participate in some manner. But, it's good to have diversity. We've got a great amount of diversity. The newest Republican elected is leaving a full-time fire job to be a member now. And just what he's gone through, it's important for other members to see, what his lifestyle's been.
How much more important is it in terms of getting things done to be on a caucus or to be on a committee?
It's all in what you do, what you put into it. And, you can come in at 110%, or you could come in at it easily. The challenge I find, and nowadays everybody seems to be like instant now. Everybody's got a clip or a bullet point. Everybody's got a post. A lot of people seem to be working for a like on Facebook or Insta or whatever they're on. And there's less, I think, deliberation. There's less thoughtful discussion. So hopefully we can get back to where we can, sit down and debate an issue without, people losing. They're frustrated because it takes this long. I heard, just people this week sitting there Like, why aren't we moving? Why it's not in an instant. It's made not to be in an instant.
Jim Marshall and Josh Kail are my guests. I'm Rappin with the Reps. News is next on Teleforum on Beaver County Radio. It's 26 minutes after 9.
Lincoln Park Performing Arts Center in Midland presents The Play That Goes Wrong, June 16th to the 25th. Sponsored by Highmark Blue Cross Blue Shield. Tickets start at just $18 at lincolnparkarts.org or.
For over 3 decades, Western Pennsylvania's #1 car cruise event of the season has happened along 7th Avenue in Beaver Falls. This year's cruise is happening Saturday, June 10th. There will be a special opening ceremony and parade starting at 11, honoring our veterans. The singing of the national anthem will be by the Skyliners' Donna Groom, followed by a flyover of Air Heritage's C-47 vintage airplane, the Luck of the Irish. Enjoy dozens of food vendors, oldies, and a live broadcast by Beaver County Radio. The event is coordinated by the Beaver Falls Car Cruise Committee and sponsored by Red Level sponsors O'Reilly Auto Parts, Patriot Home Care, the Private Industry Council, Ron Lewis Ford Kia, Eddie Isabella State Farm, Vintage Torque, and Beaver County Radio, among others. Follow the Beaver Falls Car Cruise on Facebook or crowds and spectators to the Beaver Falls Car Cruise from 11 to 7 on June 10th in Beaver Falls.
The best of Beaver County is easy to discover. It's right here on your radio. Tune in Beaver County Radio or watch the best of Beaver County live on Facebook or YouTube video this and every Thursday from 11 to 11:30. The program is made possible by St. Barnabas. For over 3 years now, the show has been dedicated to shining light on the great things going on right here in your neighborhood and the people that are making it happen. This Thursday, enjoy conversation and insight from an intriguing lineup of guests who are creating excitement and having an impact right here in Beaver County. Your friends and neighbors at St. Barnabas are pleased to support the best of Beaver County. The radio broadcast will also be replayed each week from 11:30 to noon on Sundays on Beaver County Radio. Archived Best of Beaver County videos can be viewed on the WBVP WMBA Facebook page. It's your chance to encounter the best of Beaver County with host Mike Romai this Thursday starting at 11. For more information, visit beavercountyradio.com.
Regardless of what type of car you drive, you need to make sure you're getting it the right parts and accessories to look and perform its best. And that also means the security and beauty of a new CHI garage door and LiftMaster garage door opener from Electric Garage Door Sales in Monaca. Call Robin and her team or visit them at electricgaragedoorsales.com. Helping classic and everyday cars make their grand entrance out into the street with just a push of a button for over 50 years. Electric Garage Door Sales in Monaca. 724-774-3200.
Are you ready for a life-changing career? Presley Ridge is seeking bachelor's and master's level mental health professionals to support kids and families in Beaver County. Up to $5,000 sign-on bonuses are available. Presley Ridge employees receive high-quality clinical supervision and training, flexible schedules, and competitive benefits. Visit presleyridge.org/careers for current opportunities and to apply now. Presley Ridge is an equal opportunity employer.
Beaver County Radio's news source, 95.7 and 99.3 FM, along with 1230 WBVP, 1460 WMBA, and streaming at beavercountyradio.com. Here's Curtis Walsh.
Good morning. We can expect a slight chance of showers today with some widespread haze and increasing clouds reaching a high of 71 degrees. We'll have a complete look at the Beaver County radio weather forecast after we take this look at news. Boom on the Bridge is set to transform the county's skyline and riverfront into a mesmerizing tapestry of color, light, and sound. Showcasing the finest pyrotechnic artistry from Zambelli Fireworks, this extraordinary event promises to captivate visitors with an unforgettable sensory experience. For the first time ever, Veterans Memorial Bridge will be shut down during the day for the festival and will be lined with food trucks, beer gardens featuring Beaver County's breweries, and stages for musical acts. At night, the bridge is the perfect vantage point for watching the fireworks display.
Save a horse, ride a cowboy. Everybody says, save a horse, ride a cowboy.
Country stars Big and Rich will be headlining this free festival. Big and Rich are America's Technicolor Cowboys, brothers in arms in service to the creed that great music has no boundaries. With 2004's triple platinum Horse of a Different Color, they were able to tap into the best strands of a wide spectrum of popular music, filter them through their pens and voices, and produce a sound that is instantly recognizable. Numerous local acts will be performing at various stages along Riverside Drive throughout the day as well. A secondary barge will shoot off fireworks closer to the bridge, casting a spell of wonderment and awe upon all who attend. Shuttle service will be available and provided by Fry Transportation Group from various locations around the county to alleviate traffic and parking. More specifics will be disclosed closer to June 24th. For more information, visit boomonthebridge.com or follow @VisitBeaverCounty on Facebook and Instagram. Aliquippa City Council approved a street department hiring at their latest meeting. Here's Beaver County Radio News correspondent Sandy Giordano with more.
Willie L. Clark III was hired by City Council as a laborer for the street department. He will begin his duties after passing his pre-employment physicals. It was announced at Wednesday night's meeting. Councilman Art Paroli reported that there is road work being done in the city, and he's asking residents to be cautious and patient when driving in areas where work is being done. He also reported that new fire hydrants are in place at the junior-senior high school that have been in place since the school was built, and the old ones were put in place in 1958. Pennsylvania State Police Commander Sergeant Joseph Borello explained the state police's role in the city. He told council and residents that due to the city's limited resources and when the city police need assistance, they respond. He said state police are in the city almost every day. He gave a report for 2022 to council. This is Sandy Giordano reporting for Beaver County Radio.
The Efficiency Network, known as 10, has completed work in the Aliquippa School District. A series of projects were completed in the elementary and junior-senior high schools recently that will provide a more sustainable learning environment for its students and staff, according to Alyssa Battaglia from Duquesne Light, which operates the 10 program. Several energy enhancements, including low-E energy-efficient windows, masonry repairs, refurbishment of the HVAC systems, and LED lighting upgrades. Ms. Battaglia said in a release, the improvements will result in an annual savings of nearly 164,000 kilowatt hours and a total cost saving of approximately $24,000. The upgrades will reduce the district's carbon footprint by 116 metric tons.
Here's the Beaver County forecast on 95.7 and 99.3 FM, along with 1230 WBVP, 1460 WMBA, and streaming at beavercountyradio.com.
We can expect a slight chance of showers today, with some widespread haze and increasing clouds reaching a high of 71 degrees. We'll have a slight chance of showers tonight, with otherwise mostly cloudy skies going down to a low of 48. Slight chance of showers tomorrow with some afternoon thunderstorms possible, otherwise partly sunny reaching a high of 73 degrees. Mostly sunny on Saturday for the Beaver Falls Car Cruise, reaching a high of 81, and a chance of showers Sunday with partly sunny skies and a high near 85. That's a look at the news for now. I'm Curtis Walsh on 99.3 FM, 95.7 FM, 1230 WBVP, 1460 WMBA, and streaming live around the world at beavercountyradio.com.
Talk about what's happening in Beaver County or around the world on Teleforum. 724-843-1888. 724-774-1888. It's Teleforum with Eddie Crow.
It's 25 minutes till 10. Rapping with the reps this morning. If you've got questions for Josh Kail of the 15th District, or you've got questions for Jim Marshall of the 14th District, you can call. I got plenty. Now, as soon as I said that, you guys, the phone started ringing. Hang on. Hi, you're on Teleforum. What's your name? Hello?
How you doing today?
Hey, is it Georgie?
Yes, it is.
Hi, Georgie Porgy.
How you doing, my friend?
I'm good. What's up? What's your question for Josh?
I have a question for Josh and Jim Marshall both.
Okay.
I want to know truthfully, and I don't know BS, okay? Is there any help for you leaving any property tax and school tax for the senior citizens? Harrisburg's been blowing smoke up our butts for years and years. They were going to do something about this. I want to know what's going on. Is there going to be any Any tax breaks for seniors?
All right, George, I appreciate the question. He's called me and asked me that. But,
Do you know the increases?
George, you guys.
Yeah.
All right, get the mic in front of you.
Go ahead, Jim. You can start.
So the question was what's going on with tax?
I'm 100 years old. Why am I paying a school board tax?
Yeah, that's it in a nutshell.
Yeah.
Well, of course, school taxes are controlled by local school boards. But in Harrisburg, we have the ability to make legislative changes to existing programs to change the parameters so that more people are eligible, say, for the rent rebate program. And more funds are going into that so that individuals who participate in the rent rebate can hopefully get additional funds this year, and the income levels will drop so that more people can participate in that program.
This brings up a question, and we were talking about this off the air for a second, and this is a perfect example. How difficult is it to get word to your constituency these days, because media is not what it used to be, and you're talking about people with questions, and those are perfectly logical questions. How difficult or how different is it to get the word out to the people that have the questions?
It is. I mean, all we could do really is a newsletter or word of mouth.
You have to be on social media.
Well, I'm not, but I know
you're not.
I'm not. I don't have a legislative social media page. I know Josh does. A lot of members do. I used to, but
what made you drop it?
Reality. I mean, it's reality.
Other people's reality.
Yeah, other people's.
Okay.
Reality.
It is a real problem, and it's one of the reasons why Jim, myself, other members, you got to be very active in your district. You got to be meeting people in your district office. Over the course of the last month, I've had 3 town halls in my district. We had a teletown hall just Tuesday where we had over 1,000 people participate by phone.
I saw that on your social media.
Yeah, and we're after this, I'm going straight down to Washington County for meetings, bouncing around the district and just meeting with people, talking with people, because you want to make sure you keep a pulse on what's actually happening. I think something that Jim touched upon, not expressly but implicitly, is the problem that we are facing today is that the media has become so nationalized, and it's become so red car, blue car type of narratives that people have lost track of local issues and have lost track of, what's actually happening around them. And that's not the majority of people. That's not our districts by and large, but it is a lot of people on places like Facebook where you'll start getting asked questions out of left field that you have absolutely nothing to do with. When President Trump was going through an impeachment process, I can't tell you the amount of people that reached out to me on Facebook demanding that I vote one way or the other to impeach or not impeach.
I got a lot of
and it's just an example of and we respond to them and we say, hey,
how do you respond to that?
Well,
because you have a skill I don't.
Well, I mean, my response was, hey, listen, I'm a state legislator. You need to reach out to, at the time, it was Representative Lamb. If they inquired more about, what I thought about the issue and they called the office or something, we had a conversation, I'd talk to them about it. But at the end of the day, I have no vote when it comes to that matter. And there's a lot of different issues that we get, people talk to us about that we have no say over whatsoever. And you got to be honest with people, and I think we are. But I think it's indicative of what's happening with our media. I think people are responding in that way because the only media that's readily available is national media. So no one's really talking about the local issues, what's happening at your county, at your supervisor's level, at the state level even. People are talking about debt limits and what's happening in D.C. and McCarthy and the Freedom Caucus and the Progressive Caucus and, this Looney Tune's going after that Looney Tune. And they're talking about banning gas stoves. But none of that pertains to what Jim and I are doing in Harrisburg, which, by the way, impacts our lives more than what they're doing in D.C., at least at this point in time. So it's a frustration. I understand the reason for consolidation. When you consolidate, you can get more viewership, you can get more margin, you can make more money with how it works, and everyone's doing it. It's, you got left media, you got right media, and they're basically similar entities with expressing different viewpoints. And don't get me wrong. I mean, there's a place for national debate. There's a place for issues, and these issues are very important. My frustration is there is no local presence outside of WBVP, no local media presence, whether it's the Beaver County Times or anyone else that is actually covering what's going on here. And the reason it's a frustration is because, media is at its core an educational resource, not just for constituents, but also for myself, so that I can understand what's happening locally. And good media is an actual reflection of what's happening. There's a correlation to reality in good media. Another issue that we have with our national media. Sometimes there's a lack of a correlation with reality. But we don't have that locally, and so it makes it incumbent on us to get out there more, which we do. And for me, it's one of the reasons why I like using social media, so that people know what I'm doing. I think as your representative, it's important to know what I'm doing. But I understand the frustrations that Jim ran into because you end up going down rabbit holes on issues that just don't pertain to what we're doing.
How much less, you used a really interesting phrase, Josh. You talk about media being part of the education and learning about your community. Jim, I'll ask you this as somebody that's not a big fan of social media. How much less information education is involved in media compared to pure lowbrow entertainment value? Compare it when we were kids versus now, because when we were kids, there were 3 channels, maybe 4 if you got PBS.
Well, I mean, when I was a kid, I delivered the
newspapers,
News Tribune.
Yeah,
it's not there anymore. And like Josh was saying, nowadays it's corporate, it's international, and it's not Main Street. This is Main Street media right here on 7th Avenue, WBVP, and that's what it's so unique. It's so special. And really, that's what we need to have. When I was a kid, whatever Walter Cronkite said,
right on.
That's the news, brother.
Yeah,
that's the news, and you could trust him. And he wasn't left or right. He was just doing the news, and he was awesome. And we need that again.
Looking for something to disagree that you just said. I got nothing. I want to ask you this. I got a comment on social media. Oh, you know what? Phone's ringing like crazy, too. And you guys opened a barrel of monkeys,
there's
man.
just a trust deficit anymore with media and with government, and I get it. Yeah. I mean, it's
earned.
It is. It's earned.
The trust deficit has been earned? Yeah, but look at those quarterly reports. Hi, you're on Teleforum Rappin with the Reps. What's your name?
This is Dan.
Hi, Dan. What's up?
I'd like to talk about the governor's budget. And specifically, I'm going to make a pitch today to you two gentlemen. He put $20 million in for county residents with intellectual disabilities to help out in the group homes. Mm-hmm. And that is one of the most underserved groups. And if you could support them, because I know I have tons of friends that work in the group homes and provide the services, and they can't recruit, they cannot retain because of the wages and the reimbursement. And I would ask you two gentlemen to look into it and try to help out the group homes.
Dan, I appreciate you calling. I worked at a group home. Did for a while. What he says is the absolute truth. And that goes back to the Main Street. A national news story isn't going to carry group home money for Western PA.
And again, Main Street is
us,
and it's Beaver County Association for the Blind down the street that needs funding. They went for I think, 37 years without an increase. I am absolutely supportive for individuals with intellectual disabilities, funding to get people to retain and recruit people to work to help individuals like that. And we just yesterday passed legislation to increase funding for adult mental health issues. So another bipartisan vote, right? So, I support a lot of measures in the governor's budget. The House majority budget that went across yesterday was probably a little bit of an overreach, and I'm sure that we can negotiate with the Senate and the House and the governor to get a budget that meets the needs of Pennsylvanians without tax increases.
Yeah, I agree with what Jim said, but as far as the line item that he's talking about, that particular line item, off the top of my head, I don't recall what was done with it in the budget that passed through the House. I can have my staff look into it, and I can look into it, and I'm certainly supportive of those services. I do think it's absolutely essential that we do what we can for those that are most vulnerable within our society.
All right, I got another phone call here for you. Hi, what is your name?
Hey, it's Rick from Chippewa. Am I live or am I on there and thinking like, oh, that's somebody else?
I don't know. Do you feel like you're live, Rick? Because it really
Well, you
comes...
can never tell when you're out here, Eddie. Hey, listen, I'm not going to take up much of your time, but I got the same issues that I've always talked about before. Number one, you got to reduce the size of the legislature. You're wasting a lot of taxpayer dollars unnecessarily. Nothing's been done. We've talked about this before. Number two, Jim Marshall, you're on the House Transportation Subcommittee. We talk about excessively bright, illegal headlights. They're even getting onto the bicycles on the side of the road when the guy's got the flashing warning light. They're so bright they're going to blow your eyeballs out.
Okay, you know what, Rick? Listen, I'm going to stop you right there. I ride a bike with those lights. The intention is to make you notice me. That's what those lights are for.
There's a light on it. Years ago, nobody ever was noticed. There was no bikes on it.
And people got run over by pickup trucks.
You ride the bike. You're facing forward. I'm the driver coming up the road. That light is excessively bright. You can blame the manufacturer.
Bro, listen to me. Listen to me. Send me your address. I'll buy you a pair of Ray-Bans. And we'll fix that. I'm sorry. Do you guys want to answer?
Well, you guys
were looking at me going, yeah, go ahead.
I've talked to him before. I mean,
they are bright, and it's not going to change because they're getting brighter. What he says is right. Headlights night are bright.
LED lights are getting brighter and brighter. And, there's still some operators that put additional lights on their, say, trucks or Jeeps or whatever.
Sure, you ain't going to find Bigfoot with
they might
rack.
be intended for off-road use only, and they might run with them at night. But the lights that are on vehicles that are stock items are within the law.
Yeah.
If there is somebody that does altercations to their vehicles, it's a law enforcement issue. It's not a law change issue. And as far as the size of the legislature, most people I'm not even going to say most anymore. There are many people in Western PA that support reducing the size of the legislature, which I've voted for many times. There are people out in the Philadelphia area and Collier counties that they want to keep it as is. And there are many people in the central T of Pennsylvania that say if we reduce the size of the legislature, they lose their voice.
Well, isn't that where their voice would be lost first in the lesser populated areas?
Sure, the lesser,
yeah.
You could even say the rural Republican areas are going to lose their voice. There's going to be more power to the first and second class counties and even the governor's administration. So many Republicans have voted no on reducing the size because of that. I voted for it because I've heard from Rick and people in the 14th district that want to reduce the size of the General Assembly. I voted for it. One person can't change it. That's why we have
why both of you showed up.
That's right.
No legislator is king.
That's right.
No governor is king. No judge is king. We don't have kings Pennsylvania. It's a process, and it's always a process, and you build consensus through processes. I this question, it hasn't been posed in about a year or two.
Talking about reducing the number of
reducing the
legislators.
size. I'm not sure what I really feel about it, and I go back and forth on it. It's not that I haven't thought through it. It's just, on the one hand, yes, I understand the issue. 203 members, it's a lot of members. Reducing the size, however, will centralize control at the top of the chamber, which some could argue that's a good thing. Some could argue that's a bad thing. You'll lose elements of what it means to have groups and delegations and things like that. So it'll lose a flavor in that regard. But more critically and more concerning, when you are reducing the size of the legislature, what you are really doing is reducing the level of representation you're getting from your representative. And what I mean is, you reduce the size of a legislator. My district goes from anywhere from the stuff that we've seen, 100,000 to 200,000 or 300,000 people. And so with that type of representation, I'm going to be in all kinds of different areas, different places, and you're not going to get as good of representation out of your representative. It's just, when you're one of 65,000, which we are today, you get pretty good representation. You can get out there and talk to people. You can reach out. You should be able to reach out and get a meeting with your state rep fairly easily. But try getting a meeting with your congressman.
Right.
And it's not because our congressmen are bad people. It's because our congressman represents 600,000 people.
24 hours in a day.
It's harder to get a meeting with your state senator. And the same reason. State senators represent about 200,000 people. So it's just the bigger the footprint, the less representation you have, and the less access that you're going to have to your elected official. Honestly, if you're worried about costs and savings, and this is what we ought to be doing in Harrisburg, I think, is focusing on becoming a part-time legislature as opposed to reducing the size of the legislature. I think there's an argument to be made that we're one of, 3 states or something that does it the way that we do it. West Virginia goes in about a quarter a year, and then they're done, and that's it. Texas goes in a quarter every other year, and then they're done. So New Hampshire is, an all-volunteer legislature. They have 400 and something legislators.
Very well represented.
Very well represented, but it's a volunteer force. I am not I'm not certain that we should be reducing the size of the legislature, but I don't think it's a bad thing if we reduce the activity of the legislature, because I think a lot of problems are created by us doing things and not so much us not doing things. Of course, there's things that need to be done that we need to do.
Jim Marshall and Josh Kail are my guests, Rappin with the Rebs. What should I have asked you that I didn't ask you? We got about a minute and a half left.
You didn't say anything about the Happy Days car cruise Saturday. Woo! I think that's the beginning of summer here in
32nd annual. It's Saturday. You'll be there, I'm
Absolutely.
sure. Josh, you'll be there?
I don't know.
What do you mean you don't know?
I might be there.
I'll definitely be there.
Jim is definitely going to be there.
Jim will be spinning the prize wheel for the station.
Can we reflect for a moment on the fact that this is our last Rapping with the Reps in Beaver Falls?
Good point.
Reflect away.
We're going from the honorable and the unimaginably intelligent and striking Jim Marshall's district to my district, coming to Brighton Township. Welcome to Brighton, Eddie. I enjoyed coming up here. I love this spot. It's a
That was
fun
the
spot.
most polite poking with the stick I've ever heard.
I'm looking forward to you guys coming to Brighton Township. You're more than welcome.
Jim, that hurt me on your behalf. He's a wonderful guy, but you're moving to my place.
Yeah, that's okay.
That's all right.
It's going to be nice to have you out there. I'm going to certainly miss coming down here for this show, but
it is fun to come down here. And I'll miss coming down to Beaver Falls.
No kidding, Jim. 11 o'clock is when the car cruise starts. We need you on the prize wheel from 11 to 3. You good?
11 to 3?
Yeah.
You guys have a dunk tank?
Oh,
Can we
don't
get a
me
dunk tank
started.
for Marshall?
You know what? There's got to be a grant somewhere that.
I'll pay for it.
Oh, there you go.
Find
All
me a place, I'll pay for it.
All right, I'm playing
As long as Jim Marshall's in there all day.
We're working out a deal. We're going to raise money, and it's Teleforum.
Thanks for tuning in to Beaver County Radio, created by local people in the St. Barnabas studio.